this video, I'm just going to be brainstorming the domain name I want to use for my author website. And that's a little tricky. I'll start off just by trying to think of, first of all, what I'm going to write. I need to know, I'm going to be writing fiction, so this is going to be a blog for a fiction author platform. And the trouble is, it's all probably going to be using my name. I won't use a pseudonym, but I might use something like DM Murphy. If I was writing erotica, I wouldn't use it on the same platform. I probably wouldn't use the same author name. So because this is going to be one platform, I have to make sure all the blogs, all the books on this platform are vaguely similar. It's a little tricky, but I'll be writing the first 5 novels I'm going to write. It's a vampire dystopia, paranormal mermaid romance, supernatural mythology, but it's about kind of Dionysus and Orphic philosophy, techno thriller, and also kind of a time travel dystopian. So those are the first topics. So I can't have a blog that's like timetravelbooks.com or mermaidbooks.com because that's going to be too limiting. I need something that will be able to encompass all of these. So I could have something like fiction books, but that's too broad. These are all going to be sort of supernatural. Most of them are going to be aimed towards more young adult fantasy, but I'm also going to split like science fiction and fantasy. I'm going to have my email list. I'm going to have a opt-in and some prizes and extra stuff. The other books I'm going to write in the next year or two, there's some ghost and horror stories, there's paranormal romance, there's a lot of dystopian or futuristic, post-apocalyptic, a few psychological thrillers, some biblical romance. I mean, I'm going to write a very wide amount of stuff. There's vampire, there's zombies, there's all sorts of different things. I'm going to be writing, the focus really is not just a specific genre, and I'll tell you my tagline. I wanted my website to be Epic Reads, and my tagline would be Experiments in Popular Fiction from a Literary Scholar. So I have popular fiction because when people ask me, what kind of fiction do you want to write? I always say, I want to write best-selling fiction. So I'm not trying to write literary fiction, or I'm not focusing on quality, like amazing life transformative fiction that is perfect. I'm not trying to be like a new Hemingway. I want to write fiction that sells really well and makes a lot of money. I want to write popular fiction that a lot of people are going to enjoy. So I'm not looking for small genres. I'm looking for really big best-selling genres. And I've got from a literary scholar because part of my platform, I'm doing my PhD in literature, even though these are not going to be literary books, even though this platform is not going to be about literary research or literature in general. I have to tell the story about myself. It's got to represent me as an author in the right way. And part of my author story is that I'm doing my PhD in literature. That's part of who I am as a writer, even though I'm trying to write very common pulp fiction. I'm not trying to write really classical, difficult to understand. I want to write really good stories that are exciting to read, that people enjoy reading. So it's not that I'm trying to write high-end, highbrow fiction. I want to write popular fiction, but from the standpoint of a literary scholar who is using my knowledge of the history of mythology, the history of literature, to write modern stories that are enjoyable for young readers. And so I have to brainstorm. These are my keywords. I have urban fantasy, supernatural, paranormal romance, dystopian, sci-fi, thriller, epic. Those are some basic keywords. I'm going to be blogging about writing paranormal romance. That's the other part of it. I don't just want an author website that focuses on my books. I want to also be talking about my process. So the process of publishing, the process of writing and publishing fiction, the process of marketing fiction. So I want to be writing about paranormal romance, young adult, writing dystopian, and not only selling my books, but also talking about what it means to be a dystopian writer or a young adult writer and how I market books and how how like behind the scenes of what I'm doing as an author to build my author platform. It's got to be stylish enough and appeal to the right kind of readers. And so I'm basically just using the thesaurus in Word, and I'm searching for paranormal and romance, dystopian, sci-fi, thriller. I'm just trying to find good words. I don't want to have anything too long, so I don't want to do like paranormal, dystopian, romance books.com because that's way too big. It's got to be pretty short, probably less than 10 or 15 characters. It doesn't have to be .com, but it's better if it is, if you can find it. And so these are some of the things I was brainstorming. What I really wanted to do was epic reads. So I used GoDaddy. So I went to GoDaddy's search, and you can use a lot of different tools. And just to see what's available, you just search for like a domain search. And I can type in epic reads. But unfortunately, it tells me that epic reads is not available. So I can search for urban epics, and it shows me, yes, your domain is available, buy it before someone else does. And this one says it costs €7.99, roughly $8 or $9 US per year. But then you also want to check how much it's going to cost after the first year. This is kind of a discount for the first year, so it's probably going to cost $14.99 for every other year. It's really not bad. You want to watch out for something that's $40 or $50 a year because that'll start adding up. If I really wanted Epic Reads, which was the one I had decided on before, epicreads.com is taken already, but they have these other domains. And a lot of these aren't great. A lot of these won't work. There's one I found recently I kind of like. They don't show it here, but it's .pub. And it's actually for pubs, I think, like a bar where you can buy alcohol, but people don't know that because it's pretty new. It could be for publishers. So if you had if this was my publishing website and it was epicreads.pub, that's a decent domain. It's pretty easy to remember, but it costs more. So I'd have to be willing to spend €40 per year, or around $45 a year. So that'll add up. 10 years is $500 about. So it's not really what I want to do. And also, Epic Reads is okay. I kind of like it because the common thread of my books, they'll be about supernatural and fantasy, but I don't want to say like folklore or myth because that's kind of a little bit too high adventure, like medieval. Epic can also just mean super cool or modern. Reads is fine for books. So Epic Reads is pretty decent as far as domains go. But Urban Reads isn't bad. Urban Epics isn't bad also. I'm not sure that all of my books will be urban. Urban is kind of city. But most of my books will be probably mostly taking place in a city, or at least showing the contrast between city life and nature, or civilization versus the return to a dehumanized world. So Urban Epics is not too bad, although it kind of looks like Urbane Pics, which would be something totally different. I could also search for my author name if I wanted DerekMurphy.com, but that's probably taken. It's rare that you can get your own name.com unless you have a really unusual name. But like I said, this would be fine. Like if I was a really big best-selling author, then maybe I would want my author name. But since I'm not really well known for fiction writing, if somebody did search for, like if you Google Derek Murphy, let's try it. What you'll probably find is all my other websites about other stuff. So if you already know me as somebody who talks about book marketing or making money online or art and publishing, so here, like if you search for Derek Murphy, you'll find my blog, which is creativity.com, or my book covers site, which is Creativity Covers, or my Twitter. There's also some other people. There's a basketball player named Derek Murphy, and there's a drummer named Derek Murphy. Here's a link on the Creative Pen. Here's my Amazon page. So you'll find a lot of stuff that's not really just my fiction writing. What I don't want to do is have people search for Derek Murphy when they're trying to find my fiction writing and not being able to. They find my main blog, which doesn't talk about my writing, but talks about publishing, art and design, selling stuff. So that's what I'm trying to avoid by picking something else. Besides DerekMurphy.com is taken. I could do Derek Murphy books if I really wanted to, but I don't. I could do DN books for just my initials. That would be short, and that one's taken too. I don't really want to use my name. I do want to do something, and I could use like paranormal epic romance or something really big. But that's going to be way too long. That's a huge domain. People aren't going to remember it. You don't want to put it on the back of your book cover because it's going to look funny. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this one. I can change my mind later if I decide that Urban Reads isn't good, Urban Epics. I may decide later that I don't want to use that anymore. That's fine. I'm only spending €7.99, and if I want to cancel it later and buy something else, that's not very hard to do. Whoops, I just bought paranormal romance. It's not what I want. This is what I want. Urban Epics. Select. It gives me all these other options. Urban Epics, Guru Picks. That's the only thing with the Epics is that it kind of looks like Picks, and that's not ideal. But I think it's a pretty good choice. So I'm going to